blank tomorrow from 4:20.
Coming up on this week's Video Game Nation, I take a look back at unequaled crossover brawling series Super Smash Brothers.
John reveals the 5 characters he'd like to see throw down with Mario and friends.
They're pretty much gaming's Olsen twins.
Our experts sound off about our love of pixelated punch-ups, and the entire VGN team settles its differences in a multiplayer melee.
No! That's all to come on this week's Knockout Video Game Nation. Right, Super Smash Brothers for Wii U, silly title that, has already been out for nearly 6 months, so let's get this bit out of the way. It's brilliant, you should buy it. This should not come as a surprise. Right, now let's get to the roots of why Smash Brothers is so good.
Smash Brothers is a series that shouldn't really exist. While Nintendo's characters are all partial to a bit of the old ultra-violence, be it Mario stomping on anything with a heartbeat or Link wantonly stabbing up Hyrule, it's surprising that they were ever allowed to turn on each other. It's like Mickey Mouse deciding he'd had enough of Donald Duck and headbutting him right in the beak.
Nintendo got around this in the original N64 version by depicting the iconic characters as toys that were magically brought to life by a disembodied gloved hand called Master Hand.
We never really find out why a sentient body part wants to see them fight, but seeing as it pops up as the final boss in every game, we can only assume that it once belonged to an irate Sega fanboy.
The more likely explanation is that Master Hand represents us, the players who've wanted to see Nintendo's worlds collide ever since we first laid eyes on Kirby and thought, I'd like to see Samus kicking 7 shades of pink out of that thing.
Since then, we've witnessed Smash Brothers' fighter count balloon from a modest 12 to a massive 51. But even with that staggering amount of choice, everybody still has one brawler they'll pick above all others.
My favourite character in Smash Bros. Is Link, because Link is able to be really good at close range, but then he's got all of his gadgets and like his bow and everything, so he's really effective from a long range too.
I'm really excited about, in the new Smash Brothers, being able to play the Wii Fit woman, because I think that's, because quite a lot of Mario characters get on my nerves, because they're just so sort of and happy and they're mugging all the time, and they're just quite annoying. What I want to be is like a faceless, miserable automaton. And I also like the idea of like being able to beat up Bowser with the power of yoga. I think that's, you know, being able to smash Waluigi's face off with a bit of downward facing dog. I think that's good.
My go-to character for Super Smash Brothers would be Wario, but only because, not for any kind of actual reason of anything he does within the game, it's just so I can just say the word Wario over and over again to really annoy people.
I've had the same Smash Brothers go-to character since the N64 days, and it's still Pikachu.
Psychologically, people find it very hard to smack Pikachu in the face. People don't want to hurt Pikachu.
So if you ever go around somebody's house and they haven't got Jigglypuff as an option, you sort of know you can probably beat them with any character anyway. Also, try to say Jigglypuff without smiling. Can't do it. So, my favourite character is Jigglypuff.
The allure of seeing Nintendo's finest duking it out remains as irresistible now as it was 15 years ago. But in the space of just 4 games, the series has transcended its novelty what-if matchups to become an essential fighter in its own right.
In fact, to this day, Super Smash Bros. Melee, that's the GameCube version, is still featured in a number of professional gaming tournaments. But this is still a Nintendo fighting game, and so, much like its forays into racing, shooting, and even real-time strategy, it makes every effort to challenge the norms of the genre while keeping things as inclusive as possible.
To the untrained eye, a typical Smash Brothers bout is a blur of colour and movement that's about as baffling as your average episode of In the Night Garden. But that chaos is tempered by the absence of 2 key elements that almost every other modern fighter has relied on since the original Street Fighter.
Firstly, the fighters don't have energy bars. Instead, as they receive damage, a percentage indicator rises to indicate how susceptible they are to being propelled out of the stage. This means that anyone can be knocked out at any time during a fight, rather than when their health hits 0, which means that it's technically possible to win a bout without laying a finger on your rivals.
Then there's the fact that you have no special moves, at least not of the conventional quarter circle forward and punch variety.
Instead, it's just a matter of combining a single direction and a button press. It's a universal scheme that applies to all of the game's preposterously huge roster of characters, which means that you can focus on the effects of a move rather than worrying about how it's performed.
The result is the democratization of the fighter, a brawler where victory is as much about making the most of whatever its deranged roulette wheel throws at you as it is about pure skill.
Of course, it doesn't hurt that Smash Brothers also has fan service oozing out of every pore. As well as a roster of characters that now includes outsiders like Sonic, Pac-Man and Mega Man, you have arenas inspired by over 3 decades of classic games, a soundtrack to die for, and hundreds of unlockable character trophies.
And with the introduction of Amiibo, those toys we saw when we first booted up the N64 version are now a very desirable reality.
And now, nearly 6 months after the most recent installment launched, Nintendo continues to support the game with new downloadable characters. First up is legendary Pokemon Mewtwo, followed by Lucas from Japan-only RPG Mother 3. And then, well, that's up to you, as Nintendo has launched the Smash Brothers Fighter Ballot, which allows you to nominate any character of your choosing to appear as future DLC. If you're after inspiration, here's our experts with their dream picks.
I think the most obscure character who I would like to play as in Smash Brothers would be Tingle. Tingle is just this bizarre old man in a onesie from Majora's Mask.
He's got this huge bright red nose, which says to me, obviously he's drunk. He's just drunk all the time. And drunk people make the best fighters. So yeah, that's what I'd like to see Tingle in Super Smash Brothers. Mario, did you spill my pint?
He thinks he's a fairy, and I think he would be a great character to have in there.
I think what they should start doing is start sticking the people that they put in Nintendo's adverts. Because in the UK, we get all manner of just mental stuff. Like, I don't know, I think we had like Girls Aloud, like One Direction. Stick all them in Smash Brothers, I think, because then it's basically a video game version of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out Here, which would probably be all right.
Character I'd like to see in the next Super Smash Bros. Game is Funky Kong. And I don't think, if I need to explain why, then you will never understand.
If none of those tickle your fancy, here's my personal dream Smash fighter, John Robertson, with 5 suggestions of his own.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hello, television friends. Hi, Def. High five. Super Smash Brothers. Thanks to all those colours, it's Street Fighter for kids. Thanks to all those Pokemon, it's Mortal Kombat for furries. Could be worse, could be wrestling with furries. Do you know what I meant by that? If you do, get tested. Our panel of experts have picked their favourite characters who aren't in the series yet, but should be. I've picked mine, and that said, I love the idea of Dr. Kawashima being in the game, because he'd crush your skull underneath his bulbous jolly head, and then your brain age would be calculated and just say, dead. Half the fun of Smash Brothers is making gaming icons fight and then having both your butts whipped by an obscure character from an 8-bit game that was only released in Japan and wasn't popular there.
The spaceship from Asteroids is a relic from gaming's past that's so primitive it's literally just a triangle that shoots dots at other basic shapes. It's the one gaming icon you could hang around your neck and people wouldn't know what it was, they'd just think you were a member of a cult.
Half of the roster in the Smash Brothers series debuted in the 80s and 90s, but where's the character to remind us that 90s gaming wasn't about fun? It was about seeing how much blood you could get on screen without getting your programmers assassinated by angry mothers.
Enter the Space Marine from Doom, a character who's already defeated every demon from hell, so shouldn't have too much trouble with Mario. His arsenal contains a chainsaw for melee attacks, and some guns so chock full of gun they're not guns, they're the weapons of mass destruction we used to think were in Iraq. Turns out they weren't there, they were in some guy's backpack on Mars. Weird.
The downside is, well, he can't jump, but on the plus side, if you beat another character, they would just drop another weapon for the Doom guy to pick up. Imagine beating Princess Peach and then suddenly she drops a machine gun. 1, that'd be cool, and 2, it'd raise a lot of questions. I'm a fan of the teams you sometimes see in Smash Brothers.
From the adorable Arctic twins, the Ice Climbers, to what happens when you battle the Pokemon trainer in Smash Brothers Brawl.
So why not unite the greatest team in puzzle gaming history?
The Tetris blocks know how to work together. They already have one obvious attack, falling really quickly from the sky, and you could only defeat them by thumping them till they all line up and vanish. The Tetris blocks would add the Soviet edge Smash Brothers has always lacked. They're recognisable and colourful, but they're also faceless, unstoppable, and ready to crush you and everyone you love. Bob and Bub are the brothers from the Bubble Bobble series who've been transformed into the only dragons in games who can't fly, spit fire, or give you a French kiss that'll take out your tonsils. Instead, they trap their enemies in bubbles, then pop them with their spiny heads.
These guys are everything Smash Brothers loves. They're adorable reptiles who used to be famous. They're pretty much gaming's Olsen twins.
And if they lift their curse, they get to turn into boys who shoot rainbows. Only boys I know who can do that. You normally have to meet at a rave.
One is the addled, confused star of the highest selling unit of entertainment in history. The other looks like the sort of thing he has nightmares about.
Trevor from GTA 5 is a rambling, incoherent nutjob whose psyche is so twisted it might not make sense to put him in Super Smash Brothers, but it'd make complete sense to him. With a melee attack that's mostly kicking and a total reliance on weapons he's picked up, he'd be the weakest character in the history of the game.
But imagine playing your 13-year-old cousin who thinks GTA is so badass and cool, and then thumping him with Jigglypuff. You hear that? That's the sound of everything teenagers believe in getting wrecked.
Also, Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat is so tough and frightening with his devastating attacks and big skull face, but given he'd need to be shrunk down to be in the game, well, he just looked like Cubone from Pokemon.
And isn't that what Smash Brothers is really about? Cuteness and extreme violence merged together in perfect anarchy.
The bell has rung on round 1 of the show, so take a short breather, then join us for round 2, where our experts will offer a blow-by-blow account of fighting games, and I'll be joined by a very special guest in my bid to destroy John and Aoife at Smash Brothers. See you in 3.
Human beings, we're inherently violent, aren't we? Which of course is why we're doomed as a species.
On Sky 1 HD.
Welcome back. Now, while my response to being challenged to an actual fight would probably be to feign a seizure or roll up into a ball and hope they go away, I absolutely love fighting games. From Way of the Exploding Fist on the Spectrum all the way up to the extraordinarily brutal Mortal Kombat X, I never seem to tire of reducing my rivals to mincemeat. While I arrange an appointment with my psychiatrist, pay close attention to our experts' views on virtual hitting. Yeah, Dr. Nygaard, I'm having those thoughts again.
Fights are just one of those fundamental human things, you know, like they are the essence of drama, you know, 2 enter, 1 leaves. And that just translates perfectly into an arcade gaming experience.
It strips it down to like sort of bare essentials. Can you beat up this person? You've got a friend there and you can beat them on a regular basis. You sort of have bragging rights over quite a lot of stuff. Like if you're in an argument with someone, you can go, yeah, well, I can beat you at Street Fighter, so.
I think fighting games are so popular because they actually appeal to 2 quite different audiences. You know, they appeal to sort of hardcore, dedicated gamers who like the challenge of having to learn complex button combos and show off their skills and really hone it and stuff. And they also appeal to people who are very incompetent or drunk or both, and who just want to hammer a load of buttons so they can smash their mate in the face. So I think it's quite a diverse audience.
I think the essential genius of fighting games is that they're almost as much fun to watch as they are to play, which is really not true for most video games. But with fighting, when you're watching 2 people who are really, really good, you can see the depth of the game and you can see the strategic elements of what's going on. It's also a genre that you understand more the more you watch and the more you play. I am awful at 2D fighting games and average at 3D ones, but I really, really enjoy watching top-level players do their thing. At that point, it becomes a mind game rather than just a reflexes game. It's really, really good to watch.
I think the fighting genre is as popular as it is because human beings, we're inherently violent, aren't we? Which of course is why we're doomed as a species.
Violence is who I am.
My fighting game of choice follows my chosen fighter, I think, because my chosen fighter is Eddie Gordo from Tekken. And if anyone knows who Eddie Gordo is, they're probably seething hearing me say it because he is basically a button masher's delight. Like, you can button mash for Eddie Gordo and fight your way against halfway decent players, and it absolutely infuriates people if you choose this guy. He's a capoeira fighter, so you just hammer the buttons and his legs and his arms just go everywhere. He's so difficult to counter because he's got all these really quick moves, and it takes no skill whatsoever to play as him, and you can basically pass yourself as a decent gamer just by grabbing this guy.
Favourite fighting game? I am partial to a bit of Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and I do like a bit of Kunimitsu because she's kind of this crazy fox lady and she whips her hair, which is something that I do in real life anyway because it's quite lethal. Although saying that, I have to say, new Mortal Kombat X is, oh, that's quite sexy. I feel quite sexually attracted to that as a game. It feels a bit wrong.
It's quite an obvious answer, but I do like a bit of Street Fighter, and I do like Chun-Li for preference. Not because she's a particularly good fighter, but she's quite good at running away. She's very, very quick moving, and she does great jumps. And that generally is my technique for fighting in games, and indeed in life. Just sort of run away. If you have to try and land a couple of random punches, but really just steer clear.
My fighting game of choice is a game called Gang Beasts, in which you are an angry jelly baby. I like to play as the blue angry jelly baby, and you flail your tiny little stubby limbs around and try to knock everybody out and lift them up and throw them out of the arena. It's extremely fun. It's not quite finished yet, it's still on early access I think, but it's brilliant, highly recommended.
Obviously there is only one fighting game worthy of the title of best fighting game, and that is of course Clay Fighter on the Mega Drive. A lot of good characters in there. There's Blob, very good, that's a blob of clay. But I usually play with Taffy, who of course is a piece of taffy.
One of the most interesting things about fighting games is that they've been perfect for many, many years. Most games have been trying to get to a point where they're mechanically very good. Fighting games have been mechanically very good for decades at this point. So what you're getting out of a new fighting game is essentially a new aesthetic. There's not that much, I don't think there's that much more that can be done except for making it look even more awesome.
I think it's a shame that fighting games went back on themselves a little bit. So games like Tekken 3 and Soul Calibur 2, they tried to introduce more story elements, they tried to introduce more of a single player campaign, and they tried to, even in Soul Calibur, tried to make it a bit more of an RPG with sort of different weapons meaning different things and actually being able to customize your fighter a little bit.
I think story is something like the fighting game needs to do. There was a game on PlayStation 2 called The Bouncer, which is a Square Enix game, and I can't remember who else, but they make fighting games, I assume. And it was really, really good because it was a really good story about it, but at the end of it all, you're just bouncers and you have to beat people up. So I think story should be a really, really big thing. One of the Fight Night games introduced a story mode where you're in prison, you have to fight your way out of prison, then you have to fight your way up the ranks to beat the guy who killed your brother. And it was just it was just an EA boxing game, but it added this crazy story mode on the top of it. So I think anything with some weird story mode, that's what fighting games need.
Good. Keep that jab going.
What I would like to see less of from the fighting genre is I would like to see no more motion sensing fighting games. I don't know if you've played Fighter Within and Fighter Uncaged for Kinect, but they are two of the absolute worst games I've ever played. I think I gave the last one 1 out of 10 in my review, and it's just awful. First of all, it doesn't work properly, so you end up just standing in your living room in front of your telly just sort of doing this. Like a sort of camp robot trying to swat flies. It's just weird.
I think in terms of the classic one-on-one fighting game, there's not a lot more you can do because you already see at tournament level people are actually single frame managing to do exactly the moves they need. But I think once they can hook up the Oculus Rift to a suit you could wear where you can actually feel the punches, I think that's going to be what separates the men from the boys.
What better way to end this episode than with an all-star VGN Battle Royale? Unfortunately, certain regulations forbid us from doing it for real, so we settle for Smash Brothers instead. The rules are simple. It's me versus Aoife versus John. 3 lives each, last one standing wins. Simple. Ready?
No, but wait, isn't this game supposed to be better with 4 players?
You're absolutely right, and that's why I brought along my best friend, Seamus.
Do you mean the 6'5" Irish wrestler with no bodily pigmentation who, due to his recent haircut, currently shares a hairstyle with my barista mate Ash?
That's really specific, but no, it's even better than that.
I've never been so underwhelmed. Let's go!
Let's talk through our picks then. Right, I've gone with Pac-Man.
Now, I have picked 1940s noir Kirby.
I am.
You're actually very hard to see against this
Yeah,
colourful
I am.
backdrop.
Really?
Whee!
It's almost as if you knew.
What?
And you're Pikachu because I believe he has
I
a
knew
cool
that black
hat.
and white.
Yes, because I put a hat on.
You
him
put a
and it's
little hat
really
on Pikachu,
cute.
didn't you? Oh, it's adorable. Oh, wow. What does it say?
What happened?
What happened?
Well, we've all asked that question for many, many years. Like, how it is that Aoife...
Here, what's...
How is it that Aoife, a very respected video games journalist, can only pick a character on the basis of whether or not they can wear an adorable hat?
Because I don't really...
What does that mean?
I'll admit I don't play Smash Brothers very much, so I'm not expecting to do very well.
No.
Was that 2 KOs?
Black and white Kirby, as you'd possibly expect by the fact
It's
he's
the head
black
of
and white
Professor
Kirby just killed
Kawashima.
Oh no, here he comes.
Watch out, Matt's is
What's
explosive.
Ah.
This is Kawashima gone
Seamus.
bad.
Oh, well, I'm
that was-
dead. I've been killed twice.
Seamus is not being very nice to me.
So Seamus is a level
How strange, 'cause
50
you think he
amiibo
would be.
character.
How is that fair?
So called because he's the male
Aw.
Samus.
Oh, is that why that is?
That's the joke.
Yes,
that's,
that's
the
the
joke.
joke. That's the
That's the
joke.
joke.
That's the joke.
Here, how do I pick that up there?
Okay, that was.
There we go.
Oh god.
I'm not gonna be...
I think you press the A button to pick stuff up.
Well,
No!
Am I right?
No!
Am I right? I think this is your first time.
Ah!
Yes,
Well,
it
that was fun.
Oh. Are you properly? I'm gone as well. This is ridiculous.
Here. Does that mean I'm winning?
No.
No.
It's Samus is doing incredibly well, predictably. I'm doing
That's not
awfully.
fair.
Yeah, well, I'm
There's
I'm
a smash ball there. If we
I'm doing
smash
well on
that, one of
Twitter.
us will
Get
get,
it, get it, get
Doing
it,
totally
get it.
fine.
the special powers.
Ah.
Special
Every
powers.
challenge
Uh-oh.
Johnson.
And guess what?
Ox,
Yeah, yeah,
Seamus.
Ox? Seamus?
Ox
Seamus,
Seamus.
that's not one.
Is that Seamus upgraded? Ox?
See, why did you choose to go for an Irish name? Now I sound really Irish when I say it.
Really? Because I haven't
Hey,
had
I
that problem
KO'd
once.
Samus, Seamus, whatever.
Seamus.
Seamus. See, look at that. I've managed to maintain mine.
Here, but at least I didn't come last.
Was that it? Have you two crashed
What?
out so soon?
Look, it's good to
What
come
do you mean?
last.
What's that? What's going on there?
Was it Robert?
Robert.
Oh, I've lost a Twitter follower off the back of this fight.
What, in real
That's
time?
how
Yeah, no, in
bad.
real
That's
time.
how
It
bad
hasn't
we're
even-
This is how
doing.
bad
fight
it's
hasn't
gone.
e-
I've
the
lost a
fight
Twitter
has-
follower in the pre-record.
The fight hasn't even been broadcast yet and you've lost the follower.
Terrible.
Dan, what level's your Pac-Man?
My Pac-Man is no level. Dead.
What level
Dead
was
level.
it?
Well, and that, folks, is the story of how Video Game Nation, the UK's only televised video game show, was beaten by the game it was reviewing.
I would not be clapping that politely.
And with that humiliating defeat at the tiny hands of a lump of plastic, we punch the lights out of another episode. Be sure to visit and do a like at the official Video Game Nation Facebook page.
Yes, and tweet like your life depended on it using the hashtag VGN.
Or just eat a tin of alphabet soup, then see if you can puke out the initials of this show.
Any last words, Seamus?
Oh, that's just wrong.
See you next week.
There will always be war. We did not start it, and we cannot stop it. What we can do is protect the weak and rescue the helpless.